President Trump's communications director is out tonight. Michael Dubke's resignation comes amid turbulent times for the administration, particularly when it comes to communication. This as White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer was back in the briefing room today, pushing back hard on some pointed storylines facing the president and his team. Correspondent Kevin Corke live on the North Lawn tonight. Good evening, Kevin.
Hey, good evening, Brett. You're right. For the first time in over 2 weeks, Sean Spicer, the White House Press Secretary, briefed reporters on camera here in the briefing room, but he left the podium somewhat abruptly after sparring with reporters over so-called fake news. It was as sudden as it was heated. White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer's first on-camera briefing in over 2 weeks quickly unraveled today after he was asked about the president's tweet on fake news. Mr. Trump writing Russian officials must be laughing at the U.S. and how a lame excuse for why the Democrats lost the election has taken over the fake news. Asked today to give an example of that, Mr. Spicer said this.
On Friday, the president was having a great discussion at the G7, and someone from the BBC and ultimately an incoming reporter from the New York Times retweeted that the president was being rude by disrespecting the Italian prime minister.
But after some reporters said that wasn't so much of a big deal, the press secretary shot back.
The reason that the president is frustrated is because there's a perpetuation of false narratives, a use of unnamed sources over and over again about things that are happening that don't ultimately happen, and I think that is troubling.
The contentious briefing coming on a day when the White House's communications director, Mike Dubke, confirmed he's resigned after just 3 months on the job. Dubke writing, the reasons for my departure are personal, but it has been my great honor to serve President Trump and this administration. Dubke's decision to leave is not unprecedented. In fact, President Obama's first communication director, Ellen Moran, also left the post after 3 months on the job before landing over at Commerce. His departure seemed to confirm the president's frustration that his shop's been unable to slow stories suggesting ties between the Trump campaign and Russia, none of which have been proven true.
They've really been kind of a Spartan crowd at the White House. They need to beef it up, and they need to bring in some talent who are dedicated to the president's agenda.
Talent like that of Mr. Trump's former campaign manager, Corke Lewandowski, who's rumored to be under consideration to join a retooled White House war room.
The president has always surrounded himself with people who are able to work together and in a collaborative fashion, are able to deal with the news of the day, but also think more long-term and strategically.
All this comes as the president's America First agenda is now challenging the status quo abroad. His tweet that we have a massive trade deficit with Germany, plus they pay far less than they should on NATO and military, very bad for U.S., this will change, followed German Chancellor Angela Merkel's suggestion that Europe now needs to put its destiny into its own hands. And of course, those comments coming on the heels of the president's refusal to back the Paris Climate Accord during that trip to the G7, choosing instead, Brett, to study it further. We also learned today the president interviewed a couple of more candidates for the vacant FBI director position, Christopher Wren, Assistant Attorney General, and a name you may remember, former number 2, James Pistol, number 2 at the FBI. He also once headed the TSA. Brett?
Kevin Corke live on the North Lawn. Kevin, thank you.